Alright, welcome back to another stream. We're doing some more speedrunning, specifically Pebbles percent. I do have splits right here. Unfortunately, I accidentally deleted the last splits I had, so I'm going to have to fill these out now. Hopefully I can just get it run done fairly quickly so that I have at least some splits to compare against. Yeah, let's just get started. So some details about this run. This is without more slug cats. There's a difference between them, although I'm not entirely sure what it is. So I only have remix mode enabled and a few mods for, well, I have the input display so you can see what inputs I'm doing, bottom left, but also importantly, I have fast rolls enabled. Now, this is a mod that is allowed for speedruns because it was previously done with a external program, a virtual controller that would let you use your keyboard to simulate using a controller, and you could use that to do fast rolls because it was like exclusively a thing for that you could only do on controllers. But you know, you can use the virtual controller so that anyone can do it, even if you aren't using a controller. So I don't like these lizards. I'm going to have to try to get a bat fly. Fortunately, they are not in good spots. I could have just barely gotten that. Okay, not the best start, but anyway, yes, I'm using fast rolls for these runs because I kind of realized that for Survivor, fast rolls actually make a pretty big difference. Also, I guess probably the biggest difference, honestly, that having the more slug cats enabled is that this shelter is a lot smaller, so it's actually harder to karma cache. But actually, the fast shelter opening does make it easier. There we go. So we are going to be karma caching for a bit. This does require a specific remix setting on, although not being able to karma cache would make this a lot worse. So I have the on-screen like speedrun timer enabled. I might have messed this up. Nope. So because of this karma caching, the timer actually lags behind by about a minute. So I guess I really shouldn't have it enabled since we don't even use the timer for this category, but just know that if you look at it, it will be about a minute behind the actual time. But for that, you can just look at the splits. But anyway, this is all we need to karma cache. This is actually a pretty long cycle, which is not ideal for this run. You actually want quite a short cycle, so that when you get to the wall, all the lizards will be running away from the rain. I guess I should actually talk a little bit about fast rolling. So it's basically, I think it was a thing that you could only do on controller, where if you held down at a specific angle to do a roll, it would, first of all, the roll would be faster, hence fast rolls, but also you could start a roll a lot sooner. Which is probably the biggest difference, because usually you need to either do a backflip or fall from a decent height to start a roll. But the fast roll is enabled. You can even, like, I'll just show it here. You can start a roll just off of this, like, extra, like, block of height. You usually need at least, like, a few extra blocks to so it means that you can do this to get a roll out of a gate like that. But it's useful in a lot of other places, too. So a lot of the time you're going to be using fast rolls in areas where there's kind of like bumpy terrain. Anytime you can fall down a single block, it's an opportunity to do a fast roll. And something that you wouldn't be able to do without this mod enabled. Although it doesn't require the mod. The only reason this mod is enabled is because people used to just use some other program to do it anyways, so this just makes it easier. And I probably wouldn't have started using fast rolls if I had to go like download some software to do it. Usually you want to stay down here because you can do another extended slide. That wasn't the best. Also, those are the thing that I tried to do there. It's called a extended instant hop, or I hop is what everyone says, or EI hop. It's a weird name, so I usually just say extended jump or extended hop to make things simpler. So you can see I can even start a roll just from jumping out of that pipe right there. Kind of benefits that you get. Whoops. So I do want to say that I have been practicing this run a bit. I mean, hence the title of the stream, but whoops. That doesn't look like I practiced it. Hello, welcome to the stream. But I've specifically been practicing with a mod that disables creatures. Which is, I really appreciate because it means that I can focus on practicing movement instead of dealing with RNG creatures. And that is part of the run too. You do need to learn how to deal with creatures getting in the way, but for the sake of like actually improving at the speedrun, I think it helps to remove the creatures temporarily, just so that you can focus on the movement. And then once you do actual attempts, you're going to be much less likely to actually make movement mistakes, and instead you just have to deal with the creatures. The thing is, the mod that I used that actually disabled creatures, it only works with more slickets enabled. So I was playing with that for a while, but now that I have that disabled, there's going to be a few differences, although I think they're pretty minor. I know that, okay, here's a situation that you wouldn't normally deal with. Wow. I'm not dead. I am dead. So yeah, usually in the practice runs, I would just run through there and there weren't any creatures in the way. So that's something I'll have to learn to deal with. I'm not exactly sure I mean, I think I would have been able to get through there if I hit that pink lizard with that spear. They would have fallen, I could have gotten through. Yeah, those kind of situations are tough when there's just creatures everywhere, because that tends to happen in Chimney Canopy. I do that the best way. But yeah, when you get to the top of the wall, it starts raining. Well, hopefully it starts raining if you get a short cycle, because then the white lizards will run away and you can get past without having to worry about them. They like to clump up in one room and they make it a lot more difficult. So if it's about to rain, they will all run away. You can just run past. But the thing is that after it rains, it becomes dark. It's nighttime, right? So it's actually harder to see once you make it to Pebbles. I don't know if that's a remix thing that they added or if it's a more Sluggets thing that they added. Okay, I know it's possible to reach this fruit. There we go. So if it's a more Sluggets thing, that actually won't have to deal with that. That was something kind of annoying, having to deal with the it being all dark up in Pebbles, so it was kind of hard to see what I was doing. Fast to get the Pebbles was like 10 cycles. It's absolutely possible to just do it in a single cycle, and I'd actually recommend trying it out. Just the thing that kind of got me into speedrunning was doing this challenge where you try to get from Pebbles all the way down to the depths in a single cycle. back then we didn't have remix mode to give us longer cycles, so I had to use a mod that gave us the maximum length in a cycle. But I think you are allowed to use the remix option that makes cycles as long as possible. It's a really fun challenge to see how far you can make it in a single cycle. And of course, if you can make it from Pebbles all the way down to the depths, you can also try to make it from outskirts all the way up to Pebbles. I'm pretty sure it's... Whoa, that's annoying. I probably shouldn't have held down, but I didn't think that would happen anyway. But this is... I mean, it'd be easier if you had a long cycle. Then you could actually just wait for creatures to pass. Not having to worry about rushing through. Strategy: go to Pebbles through Chimney and the wall, then passage to Subterranean. So I should explain a little bit about this route. Surprising that you can't do a roll after that. So the strategy is to take the Chimney and wall route. But once you get to Pebbles, he gives you the Mark of Communication and max karma, right? The thing is, that actually saves. Even if you don't stay in a shelter. So it always saves the fact that you have max karma, that you've received max karma from Pebbles. So you can just exit out of the game, and of course your last shelter was in outskirts, so you warp all the way back down to outskirts essentially. Thing is, what thing? What thing is? What was I about to say? Oh, not a good slide there. I don't have a spears, but there's another way to do this. There we go. Took a few attempts. I don't usually practice that. In these speedruns, you're not allowed to passage to shelters that you haven't been to already. So for the speedrun, maybe it would be faster to try to get a passage, maybe through karma caching, and then just passage all the way down to filtration system, right? But that's not allowed since we haven't been to filtration yet. So just going back to outskirts is a pretty good option. That's kind of close. There's usually a white lizard around here somewhere. And of course, since exiting out of the game after Pebbles already sends you to outskirts, there's pretty much nowhere else that you can passage to that's any better than that. As long as this white lizard doesn't follow me, I think I'm good. Usually white lizards aren't the kind that try to chase you down. I think I'm faster than them anyway. My thing is that if the lizards really wanted to, they could catch up with me. Okay, what is this? I should probably just grab the pole there. But if the lizard wanted to, it could easily catch up with me. You can tell because when it's about to rain, they can run very quickly. So if they only just did that, I'm trying to chase you. They're probably just trying to conserve energy. Oh, split. That's a little bit late, but whatever. Oh, there's a spear. I was looking for an item. Not the best movement there. Okay, so we're back into this room. Except there's no lizards this time. Let's see it. Oh, I think there's a blue lizard in this room. Should be a bit annoying to deal with. This room is really tough when it comes to lizard spawns. There's usually like a pink lizard, blue lizard, or white lizard somewhere in there. There they are. Actually, I do want this spear. Usually do some extended slides up here, but I can't do that. I have a rock. I can throw it at this lizard. And then here's where you use the spear. Do a little double jump there. I'll have to... okay. So these guys will chase me down. Oh gosh. Kind of got messed up at the screen transition there. Blue lizards are just bad at the game. Excuse me. Got that spear. Could have dealt with that better, but I guess that still works. Could do something here. There we go. It actually worked out. There is a... okay. Well, there goes all the time that I saved from doing that. Extended jump. There's a risk that you do a whiplash and end up sending yourself off the cliff. As long as I can get in here, I would have liked to pick up that spear, but it didn't work out. I have a rock though. Luckily the vulture didn't show up earlier than that. You can make that jump, but I didn't. So if you really want to risk it, you can do a lot of eye hops here. Extended hops. Problem is that if you mess it up, you can sometimes end up in a situation where you just fall off a cliff and you can't do anything about it. Usually you're able to, if you do it correctly, then you're able to control the distance you go, but some variations of the jump have a forced trajectory that might just send you straight down. The way an extended instant hop works is that you start a slide, throw backwards, and then immediately jump and press forwards. And how the jump looks depends on when you press jump after throwing. So if you jump 2 frames after throwing, I believe it's 2 frames, then you get the maximum distance and speed. And any frames after that will just slow you down. You can actually see there, that's what it looks like if you do the jump exactly 1 frame after throwing. It ends up being a shorter jump. It's called a extended instant pounce instead, if I'm getting any of this correct. So the pounce actually doesn't give you as much speed because it sends you into a different state. So you actually just want to perfectly time the 2-frame jump window, which is pretty tough. You know, getting 2 frames or 3 frames or 4 frames, they're still like pretty fast. But getting 1 frame, or actually negative frames, aka jumping too early, ends up doing a whiplash. And the whiplash is very bad in some situations where you might jump off a cliff. So here's a little bit of RNG up here, depending on where spears end up being. I could have taken a different route to this room that might be faster. So hopefully this dropback isn't a problem. Wasn't. So you need to use 2 spears here, 1 spear there. Okay. That's not what the plan was at all, but I didn't expect the orange scissors to get there that fast. Remember that I've been practicing without creatures at all, so... I mean, I couldn't have expected this to show up anyway. That actually could have been dangerous if I did that a little bit earlier. I would have fallen down there. So a spear can also spawn right here, exactly where you want to use it, so that's like the ideal situation. Or right after you throw the previous spear, but you can't rely on either of those. Because if you end up going up and there isn't a spear, then you end up just having to come all the way back down to grab one. That was kind of slow, that whole sequence. So this is where there likes to be a bunch of white lizards. Excuse me. Oh, that was actually a bad idea to drag this lizard with me. Luckily it's behind me instead of in front of me. I think I saw a white lizard right here, but I think it might be running away. Yeah, it's the end of the cycle, so... You can see why you would want a shorter cycle, because if it started raining in the previous room, I wouldn't have dealt with those. I wouldn't have had to deal with those orange lizards or that other white lizard, but that was actually pretty lucky. Or maybe just because I was slowed down. And of course, in an ideal situation, I wouldn't have dealt with any lizards here. This tunnel is really bad. It's not as bad when it's raining. The white lizards aren't likely to be sitting there. But if they are, that's like a long stretch, a long tunnel where there could be a white lizard, and you don't have the mobility to avoid it. And there's a lot of things in the foreground that are blocking your view, so it's harder to see it. We want to use a spear here. Okay, let me do this correctly. That's somewhere where remix mode helps out. The setting that lets you throw vertically. Because you can, if you do a backflip, you can throw vertically to get a little bit of extra height. So I don't actually see the lighting changing at all, so I imagine that the nighttime thing is exclusive to downpour. That was a wall pounce. I'm debating whether I should keep wall pounces on or not, because they're actually useful in some areas. I haven't been using them. I didn't need to do backflips there. There's some areas where you can use wall pounces to go faster. And I haven't been trying them this run. But I'm debating whether I should have wall pounces on at all, because they can actually mess you up a lot. Especially in depths. There's a lot of ledges that you can accidentally do wall pounces on, because you're usually just spamming jump to get through the rough terrain. So wall pounces can really mess you up, and also what happened just now. But also, like, maybe it's worth it if you take advantage of it in those other few rooms. This is another area where having remix mode on makes a difference, because you can throw vertically. Which means that in this room, if you mess up your trajectory, it didn't happen there, but since you can throw vertically, there's maybe a few more situations where you can save yourself by throwing a rock. So what's my keybinds? Well, I would recommend that you use whatever's comfortable for you. I'm using arrow keys and my right hand to move around. I'm using spacebar to jump, D to, like, my left hand is on like WASD. I press D to throw things, W for the fast roll, but that doesn't matter if you're not using fast rolls. And shift to pick items up. I guess a few other random ones. I have M for map. Is that it? Not many controls in this game. But a lot of things you can do with them. But you can literally set your keybinds to whatever, and as long as you get used to them, then they're good. Whoops. There's no like real reason for the keyboard to have the layout that it does. So you could technically swap around the keys into any formation, and you could get used to it. That's a scenario where I didn't want that. I know some people that use the arrow keys to do things like throw and jump and grab stuff. So it's nice that I got a run that actually made it here in a reasonable amount of time. But this isn't actually that great of a run since I got slowed down a lot by lizards. And please move out of the way. Thank you. And the wall. Because I didn't get the greatest spear RNG. I really got a roll there. I didn't do anything. Anyway, here's one of my favorite parts of the run. It's just a lot of swimming. I know that a lot of people don't like drainage system because of the swimming, but I don't know if they're referring to this section. Usually I think they're talking about the tunnels that lead to garbage wastes. And that's understandable. Those can be really rough, especially if you don't know how to deal with leeches. But this part of drainage I really like because it's just a nice shortcut to subterranean for all the way from outskirts. And it's pretty much always the route that I take if I can. Because I don't really like farm rays. I always go to subterranean from either shoreline or outskirts, and sometimes pipe yard actually. It's just like a short little swimming section where there's not really any creatures that can slow you down. Except a few lizards in the beginning. Remember to do a pipe boost there. No one likes shaded? I like shaded. I'm a big shaded fan. I'd recommend to learn this one specific route through shaded. It basically sticks to the top of the region the whole time. Specifically if you're going from industrial through shaded to get the shoreline or memory crypts. You can kind of stay along the top of the region. And there's only a handful of rooms that are in the dark. And you just need to memorize where to go there because there's usually not too many things that are dangerous. A handful of spiders, maybe. But they're usually not a problem as long as you're just moving quickly. And once you learn that route, shaded becomes a wonderful shortcut that you can take to get to shoreline. I would not recommend taking the bottom route through shaded though. The one that's like completely dark and that's full of spiders. I don't like that unless you have a light, and even if you have a light, there's usually so many spiders that they just ignore it. So if people's only impression of shaded is the bottom route, then I understand why you might dislike that. I really dislike that mold lizard right here. Oh wow, that's close. There's another mole right there, but actually it's nice that they're here instead of later in the or down here specifically. This area is very RNG, where the moles are. I hear some specifically where I don't want them to be. I don't know where it is. There it is. That's really good. I mean, this could have been a lot worse, but that long tunnel right there at the top of the screen, if there's a mole lizard there, sometimes you just can't see it, and you run into it and die. That was actually pretty good luck. I just noticed something. The in-game timer right now says 8 minutes, so I'm probably going to turn that off, because that is wildly inaccurate. I could have done extended slide there. I didn't know I was holding onto a rock. But I thought this was when I've done runs with the Moore's Law gets enabled, the timer was actually accurate. I guess exiting out of the game after Pebbles kind of messes this up on this version. So it has not been 8 minutes, and I thought that this would stay accurate, so I'm probably going to turn it off. But now we are in the depths. This is probably some of the hardest movements in the run. Hello? Because it's very uneven, it's pretty dark. And also when time starts slowing down, it's harder to time some things like slides. Actually, pretty much only slides. Slides and everything that you do after doing a slide. Oh, that's an accidental wall bounce. I always end up doing that. You can't go over that. I'm thinking about a later area. Do I have a map? No. But I've just done this so much that I basically have memorized everything everywhere that I need to go. It's probably like the most important part of speedrunning, actually. Once you have it's not even like really memorization. It's mostly just like muscle memory. Oh, I don't have a rock. That's not good. But like, if you want to try speedrunning, just learn a route and get familiar with it. This is where movement starts to get hard, because either time is slowed down or there's like an up force, very small up force that's constantly applied. Either way, it makes movements a little bit harder, even if you do move a little bit faster. This area, make sure you grab onto a wall here. Okay, I still took fall damage, but there's a better way to do that. This is where movement starts getting really rough, because it's pretty much all completely uneven terrain. It's also where fast rolls probably help the most, because every time you jump down like a single block, you can do a roll. Like, I don't think I would have been able to do a normal roll there. But you do need to do high jumps, and that can end up bonking your head on the ceiling like what just happened there. I kind of have a feeling, I actually don't know if this is true or not, but I kind of have a feeling that doing backflips make you go faster. I don't know if it's true. I haven't tested it specifically, but it feels like sometimes you can do a backflip and you kind of like drift forward faster. Okay, I messed up all the backflips that I tried to do there. But I usually do the backflips just to start a normal roll. And if I'm on completely flat terrain, then you need to do it to start a fast roll. See if I can do this here. Nope. There's this tech that you can do where if you do a slide and then jump again, the very first frame that you start the slide, you basically have to press jump twice in very quick succession. Like frame perfect. Then you can do like an instant pounce, an instant slide pounce. And it's actually possible to do here because time is slowed down, so you have a lot more time to actually do it. Because it's like completely unreasonable to do. Like try pressing a button twice in 3 frames. Or 1/40th of a second is what the tick rate in Rainworld is, I believe. Didn't do a roll there for some reason. Perfectly landing into a pipe, yeah. I wish there's a way to do that consistently. Because I always end up landing on a pipe in a weird way, and then you have to do a... And then it takes a while to get into it, but sometimes you can line it up perfectly and you just go in. Anyway, this is close to the end. Okay. 29-12. It's nice to have splits, but this is not the time that I'm going for. The speedrun ends here, by the way. You don't have to keep going, which I really appreciate. I'd be much less interested in running this category if you had to go all the way down into through the Void Sea, but 29. If I look at the leaderboards right now, actually, this isn't a completely accurate time since this is a different version, obviously, so it's not a one-to-one comparison with runs that people have done on previous versions of the game. But this would actually tie me with 3rd place. They have exactly 29-12. Or... There's 2 times here. One for when you first enter the Void Sea, like what I just did. And there's another time, which I think is for making it down to the bottom of the Void Sea, but I guess not everyone has done that. And I didn't think that you had to do it. But yeah, tied with 3rd place. Now you can see that 3rd place, despite all the mistakes, you know, this can be improved a lot. So this is not the final run of the stream. I'm glad that I actually finished the run this quickly, like on the 2nd attempt. But there is still a lot to improve. Of course, there's actually quite a big gap between 3rd place and 1st and 2nd. Let's see if I can do something here. So, like, I can make a big improvement just by, like, having better creature luck. You know, sometimes the creatures got in the way. But I think there's also a decent improvement to be made in the movement. And like, all the fast rolls, because I've only started recently using fast rolls, so I can improve that a lot more. And also doing a lot more extended instant hops. Even then, the gap between this and the world record run is actually crazy. But Yeah, I'll make it there. It's already not great. Probably should have just done that from the start. If I have a rock there, it's easier to do it like that. Oh, I could have grabbed it for a second. Not a full second, like a few frames. There we go. Oh, great. All of that was unoptimal. And stuff like that the world record does really well. Like, they pretty much execute all of that perfectly first try. I think they do. Maybe they make a few mistakes, but that's the difference between really well optimized run and not. It did require you to pounce. I remember that specifically. That's just always how that room has been. Maybe in like much earlier versions of the game, but there's an invisible wall that doesn't go away unless you do a pounce. Okay, I don't know why that happens. Maybe the most significant change that that Morse Lookouts makes is that this room is big enough to starve in easily. I actually know how to do this. You're supposed to have your head not above the exits to the gate. I actually might just restart right here to have a better start. But this is only just the start of the stream, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. You don't want to do that there. That was pretty good. I've really gotten used to Rivulet's movement as opposed to Survivor. Like, I mean, I've played Survivor a lot, so I'm like decent at this movement too. But Rivulet is significantly more lenient. It's kind of like having the what's the mod called? Simplified moveset. That mod pretty much makes every character Rivulet minus the extra movement speed. Because the way Rivulet works is that it's like incredibly easy to start a slide. And you actually have a much larger window to actually do a slide pounce afterwards. But for Survivor and most of the other characters, you have to kind of time it, and it's that extra timing that I've gotten that I'm not as used to. Because playing Rivulet is kind of like cheating. Just all the movement just does itself. Of course, the extra speed isn't always good. It can be a little bit unwieldy. Oh, that was lucky. Probably could have just done a normal jump there and it would have kept more speed. So it's annoying. This is actually kind of hard jump to make. Okay, this usually it doesn't happen like this. There we go. That's another thing that's really useful about the extended slide, as you saw earlier in this room. You end up moving so fast that it's easy to get past creatures that are directly in the way. That lizard just popped out of the pipe last second. But I was already doing an ascending slide, so I just kind of slipped past it. Okay, that was much faster than last time too. It should be a pretty improved split. See, like already 30 seconds. Movement tech more forgiving. I haven't noticed a difference, honestly. I feel like it's always been easier for hunters since they just have better movement in general, slightly faster. I think they jump slightly higher too. I don't like that. There we go. I was waiting for them to kind of hang off of the ledge there so they would fall down when I hit them. I do like that there's, actually I don't like that I don't see any lizards here because that means they're probably in here instead. Like this one right here. Luckily I think this vulture will kind of scare the white lizard into not eating me if it comes back through here. I think there's another lizard in this room. Ah, this sucks. If I had a rock, this would be a lot easier to deal with. That's just the kind of stuff that happens with creatures. Just gonna go down here, honestly. Messed up both of those backflips. I've seen another runner do it like that, where you go along the bottom of that rune instead of the top. I don't know if it's any better though. So you can do extended sides across the top and not along the bottom. Although the extended sides are kind of cut short by the length of those platforms. I don't like those pink lizards, but at least they moved out of this room. I kind of wonder if it would ever be a good idea to try to get a vulture mask. Like if a vulture just happened to show up and you happen to have a spear and you happen to get the mask first try, then maybe it would be worth it. I don't want to risk. Well, I probably could have still gone up where the white, or along the top pipe or pole. Oh. You know what? I guess we're taking this path. Risking it. It worked out. There wasn't really much of a risk there. I feel like even the shorter versions of that jump would still make it. I wanted to do a slide there, but I also wanted to pick up this rock, so I ended up doing neither. Like, here's a vulture right now. I could technically get a mask from it fairly easily, but I feel like it actually wouldn't really make him. Wouldn't be a great strategy, because I don't know, it's probably not worth it. Just have to spend that much time getting the mask. Even though ideally you just run past all the lizards anyway. Or that they're running away from the rain. You can see that I actually lost a bunch of time there. Just because of both the lizards in the way. I think it's maybe a little bit extreme. So you see all those lizards and how many like prey animals did we see? Like none at all. A bit of fruit that the lizards don't even eat. I mean, I guess it's just actually plenty of prey for the vulture. If you look one step back in the food chain. There's only a handful of vultures in all of Chimney Canopy, so I guess that's what we should be looking at instead of the lizards. Another big thing about fast rolls is that you can pick up items while you're doing it. Usually since you're holding down to do a roll, holding down and pressing pick up just drops the item that you're holding. But you're not holding down enough in a fast roll to trigger that, so you just pick up the item instead. Can I do this? Sort of. I don't know the timing on that, but for whatever reason, that pipe lets you get a huge boost out of it. Let's not fall here. I've gotten so used to always taking the tunnel route through these rooms. But there's often those pipes that you can take as well. And I never know which one's better. And I know that I think it's definitely better as Rivulet, since they go through tunnels faster. For Survivor, I guess I haven't tested it extensively, but a lot of speedrunners take the tunnel routes, or the pipe routes instead. So I assume that they're better. Someone else has figured it out. I've just gotten so used to always taking the tunnel. And sometimes it can't help in avoiding creatures. So there's all those white lizards that we worry about in this room. Oh goodness. Now I don't have any rocks. Well, this sucks. If they want to come over here, they'll end up just falling down. Or not. Okay, there they go. Lizards aren't the greatest at navigating that terrain, so they tend to fall there. Oh, that guy tricked me. And then picking up a batfly. There he goes. So that was pretty slow. Having to wait for those lizards, but I guess there's nothing I can do about it. I probably just lost all the time I gained in Chimney, or getting to Chimney. Okay. Yeah, it's a tough thing about going for good times. Like I would say world record, but this time there's actually players who have optimized this category. Okay. Why can't I do this? Oh, that's all you have to do. So when you're going for a good time, you realize that you're actually going to have to play perfectly for every segment. Thanks for taking the rock. Like saving 30 seconds earlier really does not mean anything if you're going to immediately lose it afterwards. So not only do you have to play well enough to save time in earlier segments, but you have to keep that pace up the whole way through. I'm currently relying on RNG right now. Hoping on finding a spear. I feel like if I don't find a spear, the run is pretty much dead. I don't know if this is better than the time that I lost last run from those orange lizards. There's a spear. Run is saved. You can make this jump without a spear, but it requires tech that I'm not very good at all. As in, I can barely do it. It's pretty much like multiple frame perfect inputs. They probably are in fact very frame perfect because of the height that you need. That's the whiplash that I was talking about. To a wall pounce. Well, usually the strategy is that you just do a regular roll pounce. And I messed that up the first try, so I did the alternative so I didn't have to walk back to do a roll again, but I guess you could do wall pounce. If you mean like the kind of roll pounce where you're against the wall and you do a slide, kind of like what Rivulet does. But I don't think that's possible as Survivor. Maybe there's some way that you could do a wall pounce, but since I haven't practiced it, I'm not going to try it. So I could probably save like a minute if I played perfectly. Really. Ah, okay. I don't know why I suck at this. So in this situation, if I had a rock, I could have thrown it down. Okay. I think this run is over. Officially, but I don't know, I guess I'll keep going for practice. Okay, can I just... I don't know why this sends you upwards. I just want to crawl along the floor. So there goes like 30 seconds. I can also remember that I mentioned last time, earlier in this run, that I can make optimizations at the very start just by knowing how to starve properly in that room. Didn't mean to do that. Is that the kind of wall pounce that you're referring to? Because you can sometimes start a roll pounce or a wall pounce by rolling against the wall. Little trampoline there. I know you can do a pole hop there, but I cannot line it up. Here they're already losing time. Excuse me. Sometimes you can bump into those fruit and it slows you down. I don't even know what I did there. So there we go, there's like a whole minute. This run is actually incredibly RNG. It's actually an ideal situation. Well, actually, you don't have to post it. Because I'm not going to try it, even if there is an interesting strategy. Because I think I already have a method that works, like, most of the time. Unless there's, like, a significant improvement, in which case I'll learn it in the future. But not in the middle of attempts. Okay, this is actually a bad time for this to show up. But this run has a lot of RNG in it, not just because of the creatures, but also cycles. Ideally, the cycle where you go to... Could have been in the middle. The cycle where you go to Pebbles could be short enough so that it starts raining before the white lizard rooms. In which case, you don't have to deal with them at all. They're running everywhere. And then, for the cycle where you go to the depths, it can actually be a lot faster if it's another short cycle. Because then it'll start raining by the time you make it to filtration, and then you don't have to deal with any mole lizards. But unfortunately, I feel like this is a change made in... Well, maybe downpour or remix mode, but I feel like cycles are always very long. Oh, okay, I totally messed that up. Not swimming. I always end up getting long cycles, so I can never try out those strategies. I kind of wish there was an option that let us just minimize the length of a cycle. Because I think even with the shortest possible cycle, it actually ends up being the perfect amount of time if you move quickly. Maybe I'm not able to do that, even if I did have the option. Hello, welcome to the stream. Welcome, or specifically welcome to the middle of a not great run. My very first attempt was actually pretty decent, but I did not improve at this attempt. Mostly because I was slowed down a lot by lizards in the wall. I feel like that's going to be a trend for a lot of these runs. Just depends on if the lizards are where the lizards are. That's another place you can accidentally wall pounce. I guess also at the start of the run wasn't great either, even though I did get a pretty decent time save. But like the entire outskirts split was pretty bad. This was even slower. So I'm probably just going to die to a mole lizard here anyway. I don't know if I should take these runs super seriously and restart the moment there's a minor time loss. So I have practiced the movement quite a bit. I guess since there's some more people here, I should explain this again, but I have been practicing specifically with a mod that pretty much just removes creatures. Any creature that spawns from a den is just removed. Or maybe they're not allowed to leave their den, but it makes these runs significantly easier and significantly less RNG dependent. I thought I'd be able to just slip into that. Just surprisingly no mole lizards here at all. It probably just means that there's 1,000 of them in here. And not even. I did see this one down here. They decided to move out of the way. Not that one though. Game journalist mode, yes, that mod. If you want the game to be easier, I'd recommend playing Monk instead of using that mod. Creatures are a very important part of the game, but for the sake of speedrun practice, I think it's very useful. It means I can practice movement specifically outside of having to deal with creatures. I think I'm just going to restart here. I'm not particularly fond of the idea of going through depths again, because that's an area that I've practiced more and where I don't have to deal with RNG. So I'm probably going to try to... I'm definitely going to try to have a better start here, because I messed up my karma caching. Actually, hold up. Before I do another run, I'm going to go and change a few settings. Specifically, no speedrun timer. And I think I'm going to turn off wall pouncing. I haven't really wanted to make use of it, and it pretty much gets in the way most of the time. Hello, Monk. Alright. Cutscene. There's a way you can skip it and I messed it up. Messing up slides once again. Oh, another important thing I should mention is that I'm using fast rolls. I'm really messing up these slides. Maybe the brain. Fast rolls are faster, but they're also, they let you pick up items while you're doing them. And you can start them from less height. I'm surprised that worked out. So I don't like the screen lizard. He always likes to get in the way. I actually grabbed both fruit immediately. Oh, come on, that always happens. I try to pick up that second fruit quickly and then because there's a delay when you're holding onto a food item. It checks if you're holding down the key to start eating it. But during that check, it doesn't let you pick up items, so there's a little bit of a delay. You do want to eat these food, otherwise they slow you down when you're trying to starve next cycle. Anyway, for this karma caching, the sensitive shelter is so small without downpour. If your head is above this tunnel here, then you end up just dropping into the tunnel. So you need to make sure that your head is on the other side before you start trying to starve. At least I think this is how it works. Otherwise you have to hold against the wall, but you have to wait for... So there we go. That actually, I don't have to wait for another... That to happen again. I do appreciate that you only have to get up to level 4 karma, unlike Revisit, where you have to do an extra... You need to go for an extra karma level, and then you might just die to scavengers immediately afterwards. Okay, I don't know why I didn't start a roll there. I also really don't like this pink lizard. Okay, that was actually a bad idea. I don't know why I threw that other rock. Oh, really? I missed that? There goes my time save. In fact, I should have hit, right? Either way, that was an improvement. It would have been better without that lizard at the end. Or if I just hit it with a rock. And now I don't have a spear for the next jump. Unless there's one right here. No. Can't be that lucky. This is why having a spear is a lot better. It's okay. I think I might have actually made it there. Remember when I got here faster than normal? I think I'm going to try restarting more often. If I mess up at the beginning. I could also try getting these slides better. I don't know why they're so hard. Despite having played this game for such a long time, I'm still not great at doing slides. Like, what is that? don't know why we walked to the other side there. Can we grab the other fruit? There we go. And take a bite out of it. Of course, that's unnecessary if there just happens to be a vat fly here, but you can't predict that. I don't know why I have to wait to start starving like this. For whatever reason, you just can't do it like this until the shelter opens up. The direction that you're facing when you wake up is random. It doesn't actually matter since you start starving before the gate even opens up. Maybe I should have a split for this shelter. So that I know what pace I'm on a little bit earlier. Long cycle. Maybe I'll restart this maybe just once. Okay, that's a little bit of a shorter cycle. I don't think that actually makes a difference. It has to be much shorter than that. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm not even fast enough to make it on that pace. All that movement was great. Most of it. See just how much time you can save if you do everything close to perfect. Could probably get another few seconds at my current skill level. Like, add this on top of the 30 seconds I got from the chimney canopy split last time, and you know, there's so much more time that can be saved, but you just have to hope that everything goes perfectly, which is kind of unrealistic in this game. But at least I won't have to spend so much time doing this jump. You always want to try to get a... Oh, messed that up. I always want to try to get a spear. Speaking of a spear... Okay, I don't know. What? I was actually just stuck there. I don't know why. I thought I was totally fine in that situation because I could throw a rock, which I did, and then I got stuck for some reason. Oh well. Make sure that I mess up all the movement here. The lizard shaking the slug cat. I feel like that might not be intentional. And just kind of the... Ooh. I don't know why I did that wrong. Maybe just because of the way the lizard moves around while I was holding something. Maybe it is intentional. I'm actually going to try to eat these bat flies. That was a mistake. I just saw them right there and thought, you know, maybe Yeah, maybe. Don't do that. Rely on consistent strategies. Monk, why are you here? And now we're in this part of the speedrun where we're just doing attempts over and over again. Everyone's favorite part. It might be better to do a normal roll there. So you actually get more height from a normal roll. So it lets you chain rolls into each other a lot easier. That was better. Sometimes that kind of just devolves into spamming jump and hoping you make it up. There's like a reason behind the movements there, but if you're doing it quickly, it's very much just spamming jump. That was still alright. Now you can grab that pole from a pounce down there, but I haven't been able to get it. I've seen another speedrun recently. I think it was an Outer Expanse run as Survivor, where they didn't actually do any karma caching at all. And sometimes I kind of wonder if that's any better. Their strategy was mostly just like go from point A to B, but along the way pick up food and then stay in a shelter at some point before the gate. And I have used strategies like that in the past. I remember that was what I did for the Gourmand runs. Sometimes I wonder if they're actually have potential to be any faster. Nice slide. I still suck at those. Okay, good time to get a spear. And probably not for this route because there's not much distance from the shelter to here. That was even better than last time. Like, there's no shelters or food along the way, but I guess if you're making it to, like, farm-raise or drainage system, you could spend some time grabbing food, but I don't know if it's any faster to, like, grab and eat food than to do karma caching. Of course, the spear shows up anyway. Let's see, it's a pink lizard right here waiting for me. Sometimes you kind of have to change the way you move just to account for creatures. Okay, I guess we're going this way. As long as this lizard doesn't notice me. Okay. Yeah, maybe if I went the other way, that lizard would have been a problem. That's what I usually do there. I should consider doing a bunny hop there instead. I see that white lizard in the worst possible position. Okay, that actually got its attention, surprisingly. And I got a little boost from it too, but as long as it doesn't tongue me right now. Okay, that would have been bad. I see another white lizard right here that might be a problem. I kind of want to talk about something. When I was playing Pizza Tower for the first time, oh great, I love when that happens. It was kind of a mess. I wasn't the greatest at it. And there's a kind of feeling while playing that game that's unique to when you start playing a game for the first time. It was kind of like this cloudiness of like not exactly being sure of what's going on. And not really being able to interpret like what's happening in the game. And that kind of went away as I played Pizza Tower more and got more familiar with it. It's kind of, I'm not really sure how to describe it, but you know, the more you play a game and the more you do anything in general, the more you adapt to, the better you get at processing the information you get from the game. So there's some situations, some things that we look out for that new players don't, like those white lizards, for example. I know that there's usually white lizards in that area, and I know what they look like, so I can always point out when I see one. But new players, of course, they don't have any, they're not used to white lizards at all, so they tend to get caught by them. It's not even knowledge, honestly, because I had watched a bunch of Pizza Tower before those streams. I knew what I was getting into, and that's why I was able to play with at least some level of skill. But it's something to do with something that's happening in your brain. Oh, great. Okay, that was just a bad idea. I don't know why, in those situations, why you can miss the rock throw. I feel like if you throw a rock in the jaws of a lizard, it should just hit the lizard every single time. But sometimes it just misses. And I could have dealt with that a lot better. I probably should have thrown the rock instead for the longer stun. I forgot to skip the cutscene. Hold up. But anyway, it's not about knowing stuff. It's about just something in your brain. Experience, yeah. Because I hadn't played the game before, and so I saw stuff, but I didn't know what to do when seeing that stuff. Kind of like muscle memory. And I think like there's always just so much information in any video game, honestly. There's so much information on screen at all times that it's like kind of overwhelming. But then once you play for a while, you actually just learned what to ignore. Like I know these like big chunks of the screen with nothing on them. Why does this happen? And I know there's never gonna be something interesting on those parts of the screen, so I can just completely ignore it. So I'm pretty much always paying attention to the floor, poles, and like pipes. Anywhere where something might happen. That's what I'm looking at. And a new player might be looking at the entire screen at once and not know what's paying attention to. I think that's fascinating. The difference between like experienced players and new players. Like I'm gonna use Spelunky as an example here. In Spelunky, there are a lot of traps. Just like various types of traps, dart traps. The bear traps in the jungle. The spiky balls in Volcano. Those are all just parts of the environment. They're just there. And you only after you build up some experience with the game, you learn that those are dangerous and that you should avoid them. So you'll find new players run into traps all the time. And if you're experienced with the game, you'll think that it looks so obvious. And of course, that's easier as a spectator because you're not actually paying attention to playing the game, you're just watching it. So it's always easier to notice traps and like mistakes and stuff. But it's fascinating that what like just looks like part of the environment for new players suddenly becomes like such an obvious like an obvious threat. I hate that that's kind of part of the strategy. Trying to... Excuse me. Okay, I mean, I dealt with that wrong, but I've never seen it. I've never seen that happen before. You're not a karma lizard. But like anyone experienced with Spelunky will immediately notice like all the traps in a room. Okay, good movement. They they jump out to you like they're highlighted. Especially those games with ASCII graphics, definitely. I haven't played any games like that. Like the old Dwarf Fortress. I think there is a new version, right, that has actual graphics. But I always look at that game and be like, this is just a complete mess. Okay, and try to kind of pay attention to like notice specific characters to like say like to kind of figure out an idea of what's going on. But of course, if you play that game for a very long time, you're just all gonna be intuitive. You're gonna look at it and immediately understand what's going on. Why? I've never seen a pink lizard here. Actually, I probably have, but not usually at the beginning of the run. So you can't just hold down. It just takes a while for it to actually start the starving process. But in Rain World specifically, it's mostly like pole plants and white lizards. Like even when I'm playing in a region that I've never been in before, I'll notice pole plants. Because I know that when I see a pole, there's a chance it's a pole plant, so I check for the signs. Like, is it a different color? Is it from a den? And then, you know, maybe if I think that it's a chance of being a pole plant, I'll throw a rock at it. Any new player, they don't even know what to expect. They see a pole and they climb it and they say, okay, I can climb every pole that there is. They never even consider the possibility of a pole plant, even after they know that they exist. Here we go again to die to some lizard in industrial. It's also why I never like when games front load their tutorials. Like by just like dumping a ton of information on the player at once. Or games that have a ton of like a really complicated UI. Like, yeah, let's show the player every single little bit of information there is on the screen all at once. And the moment you start playing, you have no idea what's going on. You don't know how to interpret any of the information, and you don't know which information is relevant. This is not actually exclusive to games. This is also a thing in some programs like editing software, art programs, stuff like that. They like to show you all of their tools immediately, and if you just open up the program and you're like, I want to draw something, you don't know what to do. But for games, of course, you know, I don't think that there needs to be all that information all at once. It's useful to kind of spread out a tutorial and only show what information is relevant to the player at the very beginning. And then you can slowly introduce new things over time. Nice slide. Don't see any white lizards. Oh, that's just wonderful. So there's gonna be pink lizard and white lizard right here. Thanks for staying right out of reach the whole time. Okay, it took a bit for me to get through the string transition. I kind of thought that there might be a lizard right there, pushing me out of the way, but that wasn't the case. I think that whenever there's an opportunity to show information diegetically, if that's even a word, if the information is like just part of the game world instead of being some text on the screen, that's pretty much always better. It's also helpful for the information to be there somewhere. It also sucks to have to go to some external source to find information like a wiki or... Okay, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, thank you for showing up right now. But you shouldn't be expected to go to somewhere else to find some information. That should be in the game somewhere but that doesn't mean that you have to shove it in front of the players' faces. Face, singular. I don't know if you'd have multiple faces. That's kind of weird. Like in Rain World, enemies or creatures don't have any, like, a health bar. Their behavior changes depending on how injured they are. Which means that it's part of the, like, okay, what is this? It's part of the learning experience of, like, being able to interpret how much health the creature has based on its behavior. You can tell, like, oh, it's not injured at all, so it's going to be attacking me like immediately, or it's a little bit injured, so it might drop me when it grabs you. Is there a white lizard right here? No. There's a chance. Probably a white lizard right up here. I don't see one though. Oh, it's also important to only show information to the player when it's actually relevant. Stuff that is relevant to gameplay immediately should be shown when you're doing that action. And other information that maybe it's unique to, like, you don't need to show the amount of money that a player has on the screen at all times. But when you open up a shop or when you pick up coins or something, that's when you say, okay, this is how much money you have. But of course, you should also have something in, like, the inventory that you could open up and see off to the side. And Rain World has, like, the UI only show up when you open up the map. There's pretty much no UI on the screen at all, most of the time. Oh, nice drop word. So we're actually on a decent run here. Let's see if we mess up everything at the wall. Put those overseers right next to each other. You know, I always end up seeing this blue lizard just fall off the cliff right here. Hopefully a blizzard doesn't drop from the sky on my head. So I like it when there's a spear there. It doesn't take too much time to go and grab it. So that was a big improvement, at least. Depends on the white lizards now. Of course, since you need to use spears there, it actually ends up being quite hard to deal with these lizards because you just used all the items. There's a rock right here, though. Just do a pole hop there. Oh, this guy. Oh, come on. Even with fast pole climbing. Well, I can still get saved. Although, there's not a great chance. Usually the lizard chasing you is the one that's significantly slower, conveniently. Although, I guess this is pretty fast. If I get released at the top of the wall, then this is a time save, maybe? If white lizards are any faster, but now it's moving down. Maybe he'll run into another. Well, no, I think this run is over. That lizard totally juked me out, though. Right when I threw a rock at it, it dropped down. There wasn't anything else to throw. Of course, I mean, I could have just left the room. That would have been a much easier way to deal with it, but it would have been slow. Yeah, I think the developers really wanted to make the UI unintrusive and also try to make the UI kind of represent what Slugcat knows. Well, I don't know why the Slugcat would know how much time is left before it rains or how much karma it has. But like the amount of food that you've eaten, and the map is also kind of represented as the Slugcat's memory of the world. That's how it's kind of revealed slowly. Downpour does add some UI elements that kind of don't work like that. Like the Gourmand's food quest is just kind of there, telling you something to do that the Gourmand kind of would have no idea about. Oh, first try. I not miss, that's up. You can actually bite just for fun. Like this was pretty fast. Yeah, I guess there probably would be more information. I should have tried to start starving. More information about the rain. Okay, that was a big mistake. And I guess also since there's rain like so often in this game, that more animals would be kind of adapted to like preparing for it. Hence why like when it's about to rain, all the creatures start panicking and running to their shelters, even if it's like slightly before it actually starts raining. Can't even try to do a slide there. Not really happy with this start. I was very close. Still alright, I guess. But that would have been a lot better if I didn't mess up starving. Yeah, I'm really glad that they made the shelter bigger with downpour, but that doesn't apply if you don't have the mod enabled. Like, it's kind of fascinating that the ancients created a way to detect karma. I think that's like one of the more interesting bits of their technology that's not really mentioned that much. The fact that they have, first of all, the guardians that can kind of just read someone's karma level, which are supposedly like living creatures. Yeah, don't mind me. And also the karma gates, which they just kind of, you just kind of check. Oh, thank you. Favorite tunnel in the game? Definitely. Love this tunnel, especially when you're halfway through it and a lizard shows up. So this wasn't great, but I guess this will still work out, especially if I don't get caught by a lizard here. That kind of slowed me down last time. I think I can somewhat consistently save about 40 seconds here, or maybe I just lost 40 seconds on my first attempt. I don't really remember what happened that caused that time loss. Probably just some creature getting in the way. That's like some interesting tech that can happen sometimes when you're hanging right off at the bottom of a pole, of a vertical pole, and you try to boost up it right as you're about to climb up normally. You kind of do this like extra big boost. As I kind of did there. I think that the ancients created karma. That's interesting. Because it uses the same symbols that they use to represent some various things that they consider very important. It's part of their culture. That would make sense. It'd be kind of strange if karma was like some like fundamental part of this world, and it... Oh, wow, I messed that up. But then they also use the symbols that the ancients created. That lizard all the way up there, I've never seen them do that. I don't know if it's better to try to drop down and do that roll like that, or to just do a pounce from the top. That was pretty lucky with those lizards there, they didn't really get in the way. There we go. That pipe always flashes. Oh, it's probably because I'm walking over it. Let's not do that. I could have used that to throw boost and pull hop, but I messed up all of that. Nice vulture spot. I started that roll a little bit too early. Okay, I think that was, well, alright, I say that felt good, but then I lost a few seconds, so I guess not. Probably because of the movement in that one vertical room. Nice. Well, when that happens. Yeah, I guess I never thought about that, but the big X that's at the beginning with the depths that sets your karma to max. The ancients probably did create that. So you're saying that it makes sense that they'd have such good control over something that they created, but it also kind of doesn't make sense how they'd create a system that influences all life in the world. Presumably karma is just kind of just like an inherent thing to living creatures. And I guess you could say that, you know, most of the creatures here are purposeful organisms, so it would be like built in, but I don't know, that doesn't really make sense to me. I took the wrong route. I think they're still pretty fast. So I see a spear there. It's not in a great position, but it's alright. So you have to go all the way back down. Nice backflip. I'm glad that you can do that skip at least. This route would be significantly worse if you had to go through the orange lizard zone every single time, on top of the white lizards that are already rough to deal with. A bit of a trampoline there. Still didn't actually help out that much. This strategy is called just hoping for the best. Oh, that was lucky. I tried to hit them with the rock, but I missed, but it still worked out. Oh, come on. So presumably there's a way you can use a wall pounce there, but I feel like the vault is still pretty good. Or the crouch turn, whatever. I don't even know if there's a name for that. I thought that overseer was a white lizard. Another big time save I can make is not messing up here. I don't like that guy. That's bad. I wish they didn't see me. As long as they don't catch up. Okay, I think they lost interest. That's good. Okay, I hate when that happens, when you do a pole hop, when doing wall jumps like that. Also, I need a spear. I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to grab the spear up here. It's not very fast at all, but it's better than having to go up all the way and then all the way back down if you don't have a spear. If you don't find a spear. Another pole hop, just for fun. And of course, now that I went down and grabbed an extra spear, just in case, I'm going to find one up here anyway. Nothing yet, though. There actually is no spear up here, so that was a very good thing to do. That was pretty fast. That was pretty good. It's a nice time to mention Reynolds art, considering this background up here. Sometimes I kind of wondered, like, what was the order of creating things for this game? Like, this game actually started out quite simple. As like a little arcade. More like arcade. Whereas like you were in more like arena mode, right? You're in a room and there's lizards and you have to fight them. And then eventually they kind of expanded the scope of the game, and I wonder at which point did they create all the lore stuff, like the iterators and the ancients and the cycle, all of that. Because I'm pretty sure that wasn't part of the original idea for this game. They just wanted to see if they could make an interesting platformer with like simulated movement, or simulated like physics. Actually, I imagine, here's a little theory. They came up with the idea of the rain, so that there was like a time limit. So that you couldn't just like wander around the world forever, so they added the rain as a time limit, and then they had to come up with a reason why is it raining so much. Well, how about like massive supercomputers? Because that's the first thing that everyone thinks of, right? But with the existence of massive supercomputers, you have to have what are they computing? And at some point, I guess they combined the idea of the cycle as a justification for respawning. Like, oh, what if they don't want to come back to the cycle? So they use these massive supercomputers to try to calculate a way out. That's a possible way that the developers could have thought of all these ideas. And so for the entire sequence of climbing up the wall, they decided to like just go all in. Like, let's go and create like this massive supercomputer and a city on the top, because of course if there's people living here, they can't live on the surface where it's raining a bunch, so let's just also create like a massive city on the top of this supercomputer. And I guess, you know, they can't just build one, so let's make like a bunch of iterators in the distance to show that there's like plenty more of them. I actually could have done the pole hop there. This part of the run's kind of scary because this pole plant is just right there. And sometimes even if you're not holding up to grab onto it, it just... Okay, I should probably just only need to throw boost once there. grab something here, just in case. I could have picked up that rock. Okay, that was alright. Saved a little bit of time, 2 seconds. So that's potential. So I said the ancients would live under the iterators. I just kind of wondered that, like, there's still rain under the iterators, suggesting that they're, like, incredibly tall. Tall enough for clouds to form under them. Or maybe they're just, like, expelling water directly underneath. Let's not mess this up. I guess, like, we still have Shaded Citadel, right? So there's still, like, a bit of, you get to see what the ancient cities look like, although Shaded Citadel's probably a little bit special. It was culturally significant for the ancients, for some of them at least. I like how we do get to see a little bit of conflict between the ancients. Like how some of them didn't want the Pebbles to be built, because it would cast a shadow over the citadel. So it's like not everyone was immediately into the idea of creating the iterators. Maybe that's just because of Pebbles. Like they would have liked, they were fine with the construction of Pebbles, just not in that location specifically. Probably improve my time by like a full 30 seconds if I just never messed up slides. No, it's just about mole RNG. Everyone's favorite part of the run. If I did any percent, this would be the only thing I worried about. That'd be kind of nice. I don't know, maybe I've never tried any percent, but it's pretty much just the second half of this run. Instead of going up to Pebbles at the start, you just head down here immediately, although any percent kind of doesn't even work anymore in this version of the game. Since there's no Guardian skip that's reasonable to perform. Yeah, let's also fall down here, just because. I also end up making a bunch of noise so the moles will know that I'm here. Hopefully they don't know that I'm here specifically, and we'll keep walking unless it goes the other direction. Hope they didn't turn around. Okay, there's a little bit of a hiccup there, but still moving forward. Okay. We're still going. I don't think there should be any moles down here. You know, someone asked quite a few streams ago why I call them mole lizards. And I don't really have an answer, honestly. You can also just call them black lizards. Same with ape lizards. Although I feel like saying sand lizards is kind of awkward. I don't know. I mean, it's because they look like moles and act like moles and are pretty much just moles. Part mole, part lizard. But they were asking specifically why moles. Why I call most lizards just based on their color. I mean, I guess most lizards are pretty much only distinguishable by their color. I guess there's eel lizards, right? And salamanders / axolotls. It's not just moles. Like, I usually just say moles instead of mole lizard. Yeah, that's what they were asking about. This isn't the greatest movement. Especially there. So I didn't have an item in a specific part last run, so. I probably could have just done a bunny hop there, it would have been better. Maybe we should have a split here, since the two halves of the depths are quite different in terms of movement. Get a lot of flat ground in the first part of the depths, and then suddenly it becomes very uneven. Didn't have anything to throw boost with there. My leg is falling asleep. It's nice. What if that extended slide is actually worth doing, because it ends short by running into a wall. I guess it's pretty much always better just to do a backflip instead of trying slides because they're so risky. I feel like you still get a decent speed boost from doing a backflip for some reason. Maybe just something weird about the depths. By the way, the world record has already passed. It's at about 26, or just a bit faster than 26 minutes, which is kind of crazy that I'm already here though. But the rest of the depths does still take quite a lot of time. Yeah, just the depths alone takes a few minutes to get through. always like to try to get a big jump here. Because you can kind of get stuck on the terrain. It's hard to see what exactly is going on in this room. Tower makes the ancients seem kind of stupid. Okay. 27. That's better. That's better. Pretty decent run, I suppose. I had a lot of time to save it in these last few segments. Like, I didn't think I'd save like 30 seconds just in the depths. So that was pretty good. I feel like there's more to improve still. Maybe I'll do a few more runs. On the leaderboards. I think that is still third place. Ignoring the fact that there's a few timing differences because of the different version of the game. Although I don't know how much of a difference that makes. They clearly had aerial vehicles. I guess we don't. That hasn't been confirmed. The only transportation that we know about is the trains in Subterranean. That's pretty much all we know, and those were used mainly for transportation of materials, right? Like the precipice is supposed to be the bridge that the ancients used to travel from Moon to Pebbles, but it doesn't really feel like a bridge that's meant for traveling across. I mean, that's probably because it's mostly fallen apart. But even then, you'd think that, like, did they all just, like, get on this big bridge and just walk across? They didn't have some sort of, like, other transportation or, like, some sort of vehicle. And yeah, you would think that they had, like, planes or something. Sky sail festivals. Oh wow, look at that. 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's so fast. World record. Only just under 2 minutes. Not just under. That's funny. I think that downpour specifically fixes the problem with the timer. Because it does not update going to the time that you spent going to Pebbles and if you exit out of the game. So only a minute has passed here. I guess I will try again. But this time the splits will be a lot better. There's no easy 40 seconds to save. Although, you know, a few seconds here and there. I still find it crazy that the world record is as fast as it is. I basically get that just by having super clean movement all the way through. Good movement to good creature. Well, of course it's going to have good creature RNG. And even that run has a few mistakes here and there. Not that I'd be able to take advantage of that to get a better time. Yeah, I'll get it eventually if I want to keep running this category. Favorite part of the run right there. Oh my gosh, why is this happening? I remember learning about the fact that you could get that fruit up there, and I tried it a whole bunch and it felt completely impossible. Did I run into a white or a pink lizard in this room? Not my last attempt. Maybe there's a small improvement there. I mean, you don't know how much time you saved to creature RNG until you get a run where suddenly you save 20 seconds out of nowhere. Just a few jumps tires me on there. I think I also might have lost time due to bad starving. Unless I reset that run. I'd never remember which run is which. Not known for appreciation of beauty. I guess that's how the iterator themselves feel. Something fascinating about this game, if you go to Outer Expanse and you look, you climb up the tree. Also, this is a really long cycle. Maybe I should try to just do like keep restarting until I get a really short cycle, and wait until wait for that to get a good run. So I'll keep trying here though. But yeah, if you go to Outer Expanse and you go to the top of that tree, you'll see the 5 Pebbles in the background. And as far away as Outer Expanse is, it still takes up a huge amount of the background. It completely fills the screen. And that's like the furthest point away from Pebbles we can get to. So literally everywhere else in the game, Pebbles like completely fills up the sky. Like no matter where you are, unless you're like underground, you can probably see Pebbles. And we never get to see it because the background doesn't get a good angle of it, and also it's probably too high up. It's only when we get as far away as in Outer Expanses when we get to actually see it in the background. And it's also funny that the slowcats have always had a good view of it from the slowcat tree. So the survivor right here has always known about Pebbles, but it's only until now where we actually get to travel there. I hate when that happens. And I think it also gives you a sense of scale for how big the rest of the world is. Considering that we can travel all the way to Outer Expanse, and Pebbles is still looks absolutely massive. I wish I had picked up something there. So just imagine, like, considering how small the other iterators are in the background, at the top of the wall. You know, just how far away they are. So if anyone wants to make a modded campaign where you travel to a different iterator, consider making it multiple times longer than the entire base game world. Just keep things to scale. The vulture. Why did I fall down here too? I think this run might be over. I turned off wall pounces. wait. I can still, I can't save this at all. This run has lost a lot of time. Usually you can do wall pounces to get up this room, and I messed it up. Wow, I made it. The thing is, I actually don't even know if I've read all the pearls that have been added to Downpour. Because a bit of time after the release of the DLC, I did look through the wiki and read pretty much all the pearls that I found there. But I don't even know if that is updated. If that has all the pearls that are in the game. There may have been some that haven't been added yet, so I missed them. I might have to go back and reread all of it to see if I missed anything, but I feel like most of the downpour pearls actually don't add that much interesting information. And a bunch of that information I've probably already heard from various chat messages in this stream or Discord. I don't like this green lizard. Why did I throw rocks there? I feel like I got so much more height there. Don't jump. Thank you. I mean, I was scared of the possibility of green lizards jumping at me now. Now that I've seen it happen. All that, I felt like kind of a glitch, like maybe they glitched into the terrain and it pushed them out really fast. I mean, I remember checking the wiki quite often around the release of Downpour, and it took a decent amount of time for a bunch of the pearls to get filled in. I think it would only take like a day or a few days for someone to just like copy and paste all the pearls in. So I'm going to reset once for a good cycle time, and if I don't get it, I'm just gonna restart. Do you want to start a streak? See if you can complain about unparalleled innocence every single stream. At least once. Okay, this is a decently short cycle. Wow, they really got me. Oh, nice slide right there. I'm gonna blame that green lizard for all of that. Now I don't have a spear. This actually probably would have been faster to just hold onto the spear instead of using it to do that slide. We're all professional downpour complainers. I mean, I'm not even playing downpour right now, so it doesn't even apply. You know, I think I've been thinking about doing a tier list stream for a while. Just making tier lists for like all the slugcats and regions and, you know, just various things. Oh, come on. And honestly, thinking about like how I'd rank the slugcats, I think the base survivor would be pretty high up. I think people are kind of distracted by the flashiness of the new slugcats. Like the entire Saint campaign and all their fancy abilities. Okay, what is this? I mean, I did just up into that, but they all slowed me down there. And so, yeah, I think base survivor is really good. And my interpretation of, or not really interpretation, my take on how I'd make a tier list is that like repetition is a negative. So everything, it's like the survivor basically defines a bunch of stuff, like the journey to 5 Pebbles and the journey through the depths in the Void Sea. All of that is stuff that's been established by the survivors campaign. So pretty much every other campaign that also goes through Pebbles is weakened by the fact that you've already did that as survivor. like all the like strongest parts of the Survivor story, like you've already done that. And so I think that like, and also it has a significantly less I don't know how to say it. It's more balanced. It's more reasonable. Okay. So the Survivor is so much more reasonable. No like crazy abilities and no like ridiculously strong or like common creatures that like red creatures. The creature spawns aren't too bad. You don't have any like overpowered abilities. So it's like a very balanced. And then on top of that, like you get the first time experience of meeting Pebbles and meeting Moon and going through the depths, and all of that is, I think, done worse by the new Slugcats, just because Survivor already did it. Of course, I think I would still not put them at the very top. I think like Saint is probably still better. This is really clean so far. It's weird that I either see the green lizard in that room or not at all. Like you would think that I would see it sometimes in that room, but not even. Okay, that actually wasn't even that much faster. That might slow me down. Forgot that I had to starve for some reason. Oh, no, it's still good. As long as you just start starving before the gate actually, or the shelter actually closes, you're good. This is a long cycle. Still a long cycle. Still a long cycle. I don't know if this strategy is worth it. Short cycle, not even really that short. You would think that, considering the range of cycle lengths that you can get, okay, I messed up the timer there. That's an interesting strategy. I don't know why I didn't think of trying that before. Considering how short a cycle can be as Survivor, you'd think that I'd at least like get it sometimes. Time within that range. So you end up having to get a really short cycle to make it to the wall by when it starts raining. To wait for this green lizard. That's funny when they do that sometimes. They'll like charge up for their charge, and then they'll end up falling off or something. There we go. The jump I've been trying to do this whole time. But now, like, I don't know. Let's pay attention to the cycle timer and see how much. This is still like I don't know. Maybe I'm too used to rivet at times, and I'm seeing short cycles, and they're actually short cycles, but they look like they're fairly long. Honestly, I mean, in terms of gameplay, one of my biggest complaints about Downpour is the fact that it takes such a long time to actually get into the interesting content. The first two sluggas that you have access to are the Gourmand and the Artificer. And the biggest chunks of content that comes with those characters is Outer Expanse and Metropolis. As well as Artificer, you can go to Garbage Wastes or Waterfront Facility, but those kind of lead to dead ends since you can't go to Moon. So it ends up being kind of disappointing because you think that you'll be able to explore Moon a different way, but you actually aren't able to at all. But let's say Outer Expanse, right? The rest of the world is pretty much exactly the same as Gourmand. So you're spending a decent chunk of time running around as very slow Gourmand, going to Pebbles, doing all the stuff that you've already done as Survivor, possibly multiple times. And then you go all the way over to Subterranean, and you finally make it to an interesting new region. Hello, welcome to the stream. An Artificer, I feel like, you know, it's actually not that big of a distance to get to Metropolis. But because of their difficulty and fighting scavengers, you end up taking a lot longer to actually get there. And if you take I've seen a lot of players go take the exterior route, even though Artificer has no trouble actually going up the wall instead. They go all the way through like Waterfront Facility, and then up into Shaded, and then all the way through Memory Crypts and all, like that whole route. I feel like that's unnecessary. You can kind of speed in your way up the wall, and you can make it to Pebbles fairly quickly. This area sucks. And you get to Metropolis, and it's pretty cool. I wanted to throw the spear instead of the rock. They didn't seem to notice me anyway. Metropolis disappointed you. I mean, it's cool until you realize that you have to focus on fighting scavengers instead. There's still time to save, despite how decent last run is. Invalidate your entire experience with movement. That's kind of how I felt about Artificer instead. You really aren't incentivized. You're incentivized to like ignore all the other movement tech in the game and just focus on the explosive jumps. Because you can use, they're like by far like the best movement option you have at all times. So you just do that all the time, whenever you're able to do an explosive jump. This area is gonna suck. Or not. I really liked Rivulet. I mean, maybe you can tell because of all the speedruns that I've done, but they ended up being one of my favorites to move around with. Because honestly, after Downpour came out, I didn't want to play through the stories of the game to not spoil myself, because I wanted to save that for the streams. So what I did is that after I did the Gourmand stream, I just played Rivulet, but I didn't focus on the story because I knew that it was relevant to the, it was about the iterators, so I just went and did an ascension run where I got echoes and ascended. Excuse me. Okay, hopefully that kind of scared away these lizards. But yeah, just running out as Rivulet was a lot of fun, and I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't make full use of their movement in the areas that are relevant to their campaign. Okay, that was very close. Like the rot is so rot infested and like half zero gravity that you can barely make use of Rivulet's movement. Okay, that's annoying. And then Summer Superstructure is pretty good too. Right, not too. It's better. I don't like that guy. I like that scaring away the. Yeah, it's scaring away the white lizard. Yeah. Vulture, save me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Still lost time, but I didn't think that the white lizard would be interested in getting me when it's scared by the vulture. It is like that sometimes, isn't it? You know, I actually, my big complaint about Rivulet is that their underwater movement is really janky. Like, you would think that the underwater Slugcat would have the best underwater movement, and they kind of do, but it's weird in a way. Because when you do a swim boost, you're immediately sent flying in the direction that you're facing. Not the direction that you're trying to move in, but the direction that your head is looking at. Which means that you might accidentally do a swim boost and send yourself flying backwards. And then it takes a long time for some reason to like switch directions underwater. So it's like kind of unwieldy sometimes. I think I would have liked Rivulet movement a lot more if it was just like hold in a direction and you'd swim in that direction. It sounds simple, but that's not how it works. The rare fraction itself does make it a bit better, but it's not something that you can rely on for the rest of the campaign before you get it. Submerged with the Blydenbird, and that's interesting. I've never seen that before, actually. Maybe I should check that out sometime. The thing, okay, Metropolis, I read that comment from earlier, but the shelter locations aren't that bad if you know where they are, which is kind of the case for the rest of the game. Like, of course, for the regions that are already here that we've seen many times, you know, they're reasonable to us because we know, like, if we need to go to a shelter, we know which rooms to go to find it. And we go to a new region and suddenly we have no idea where the shelters are, so it feels like there's a lot less than there actually are. Even if they're only like a few rooms away at some points. So like in Metropolis, there's right before the Scav King, there's a big toll. This is a really long cycle. There's a huge scavenger tool that's like kind of a shortcut directly to... Okay, that's not any better, but whatever. And if you want to take this shortcut to get to the Scav King faster, it's very easy to die, and you won't make any progress for a while. But there's actually a shelter right next to it, like a few rooms away. But the shelter's just kind of below the screen a little bit, and a lot of people probably aren't going to find it. It took me forever to find it, even though people were telling me where it is. But then once you know that the shelter there, suddenly it doesn't become a problem at all to get past that shelter. But you probably will still die a bunch, but you can at least like retry very quickly. That was unfortunate. I mean, just trying to restart the cycle for a better time. That's what lost me all this. Spear here? Nope. Time to mess up this jump 20 times. Oh wow, that was actually not that bad. I don't know what's up with that jump. Sometimes you make it in 2 wall jumps, sometimes it takes more. A scavenger? Oh no, it's just something down there. I always associate those sounds with scavengers, because it's the sound that scavengers make, but normal items can just kind of make those sounds on their own. It's funny that pose that you make when you're doing that extended jump. Well, when that happens, I would really appreciate if this white lizard didn't come back through this pipe. Thank you. It is now how we're fighting with another lizard. I don't even know if it's possible to do that jump with a spear. Just kind of have to wait for those lizards to get out of the way, unfortunately. What is this? And of course I missed that spear somehow. I think this might be the last run that I do. Nice. Love when that happens. That doesn't work. You have to be facing the other direction. And now I'm messing this up a whole bunch. That's wonderful. Sometimes I think about the fact that there's still so much I can optimize in this run that I'm aware of because of the fact that other people have run this category a whole lot. There's still like 2 minutes, more than 2 minutes probably, to save in this run. And I kind of only know that's possible because I know that that run exists that is significantly faster. But I imagine that in categories that have been run less often, like the ones introduced from Downpour, you know, who knows what the optimal times are going to look like. And for Rivulet, for example, I currently have the world record for the Rivulet story percent, but I feel like there's still so much more to improve because I think about it like this, as in Pebbles percent, right? I might have messed up there. In Pebbles percent, I'm like 2 minutes away from the world record, right? That was really close. And in Rivulet, I do have the world record. So if you assume that I have the same skill level in both categories, then technically the Rivulet category can still be improved by 2 minutes, or whatever the equivalent percentage is. It's just that people aren't running Rivulet as much, so that time hasn't been optimized. Unless I wanted to go and do that myself. Although I'm kind of tired of running that category, honestly. Maybe that's not a fair comparison, considering that I've only been running this category for a little bit. I mean, this is what, the 20th attempt? For Rivulet, I was on like the attempt 200 something. So maybe that's not a fair comparison. But also, like, only 200 attempts. Like, there's speedruns that people have done, and people have done like tens of thousands of attempts in. Games that are probably more enjoyable to speedrun than Rain World. But like, if anyone were to spend tens of thousands of attempts in any Rain World speedrun, they could like save so much time. It's definitely not what I'm able to do. I don't really see Rain World ever being a popular speedrunning game, though. There's too much RNG, and like I really enjoy the movement system, but even if you do learn that and get consistent at it, you know, it's just about rolling the dice at that point. Blue Lizard here. I guess some things are pretty consistent. Great, I go all the way up there to grab that spear, and then it doesn't even... Can't even use it. I didn't really like that room at all. Oh, no, that was good. Don't do it like that. Goodbye, run. It's nice knowing you. Rainbow's not the worst offender regarding RNG. The thing is that that's actually a popular game, so there's at least some motivation for being the fastest at it. Also, I feel like there's a point where there's so much RNG that it just becomes... It all averages out. Like, Rain World has just enough RNG for it to be annoying, but not enough for it to... Like, there's still a chance of getting a, like, perfect RNG run. Because perfect RNG is basically just creatures not getting in your way. And that can happen. That's kind of what the rivulet run looks like right now. Because I remember that I did some practice runs. Thank you for the notification. You guys didn't hear that though. I should have kept the spear. But I did some practice runs for the rivulet run with a mod that removed creatures, and I ended up actually getting a better time when I did an actual attempt where there was creatures. Which I still think is kind of crazy. Because I ended up getting a run that had like pretty good RNG, so that even though creatures were there, they really weren't a significant factor. What is this? Give me your mask. Nope, no mask. You know, I wanted to try it at least. If I could do something to save this run. Save it as in... I mean, I don't know. It's not really that far behind anyway. Looks like this has not been a great chimney canopy. Also, I think going through that pipe is actually faster. I just am not used to doing that. Thank you for that. Honestly, I'm kind of speedrunning this game just because there's not really much else to do. Like, I've beaten all the campaigns, all the challenges and expeditions, and I've done like mods that they've been coming out. And like what else is there to do? Speedruns are like kind of infinitely replayable, and you can always be improving, so you know. I can do these streams. Still. Like I can do speedruns for these streams. But I don't know, like, what else would I do if I wasn't doing these speedruns? And would I still be interested in doing these speedruns if I wasn't worried about doing streams? I don't know. Maybe I'd still be motivated to speedrun rivulets. I did most of those runs off stream anyway. But there's plenty of other games that are focused on movement that have a better speedrun, but of course they end up actually being significantly more competitive. Obviously. So I can pick up Rain World and like spend a moderate amount of time practicing and get some world records. But I could never do that in a game like Celeste, for example. That game is incredibly competitive, and the world records are so optimized that I'd have to spend years and years practicing to even have a chance of competing with those. That's just not the case for Rain World. It's kind of a benefit of this game not being too popular, because world records aren't that hard to get. And if you guys could get a world record if you wanted to, there's a still decent amount of categories in Downpour that have no submissions yet, or very poorly optimized submissions. Like Gourmand is currently at like 3 hours. If you guys think you can beat Gourmand in under 3 hours, you can get a world record, although so there's probably submitted a time that's faster than that. It just hasn't been verified yet. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the stream. I did get one good time at least. I think I'm going to submit that. So, thanks everyone for watching. I may try to set up that tier list stream. I don't know if that'll be next stream or next week. Or maybe I'll play Pizza Tower. We'll see. Alright. See ya.